Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We're excited to have Mark Hamblin from InsightWorks, and Mark's going to be presenting on Supercharge Business Central Cloud with free apps. And I know you're all eager to get started with the presentation, so before I pass it over to Mark, I just want to remind you that we are recording this webinar, and it will be posted to our on-demand webinar library for you to review again or share with anyone. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions box, and we will get them answered during our Q&A time at the end of our session. So now I'm going to pass it on over to Mark to kick off our presentation.
Thanks very much, Angie. All right, good morning, everyone. Today, what we're going to do is go through some of the free applications that are available for Business Central if you're running Business Central Cloud. Probably going to take about half an hour or so, depending on how excited I get and how much I talk, but we'll try to keep to that, plus whatever questions you have. As Angie mentioned, feel free to enter those in the question box at any time. So we'll go through a quick PowerPoint here, and then we'll jump in and look at some of the software and how it works. So just some quick background. InsightWorks, we've been around for about 10 years now. We work primarily in manufacturing distribution. We work with Innovia to deliver all of these solutions, warehouse management and manufacturing management and all those types of things. And then, of course, what you're going to see today are all the free apps that Innovia can help you get set up, where you can set up yourself. But if you do have any questions, I'll give you some contact info at the end, but just contact your Innovia rep if you have any questions about what you see today. All right, so a little bit about our solutions. Now, this is really all the solutions that we have. You can get most of these off AppSource and things like that. But what we're focused on today is this bottom row here. And these are all the free apps. And when I say free apps, I mean free. You don't have to register. You don't have to do anything. You go to AppSource, you install it, and you can start using those applications almost immediately. So, I'll go through these in a little more detail, but these are the ones we're going to focus on today. So let's start with the first one here, which is the Wms Express. So if you're running Business Central, it's probably because you have inventory, right? You have items in stock you need to ship, you need to receive, you need to do all of those sorts of things. And we call it Wms Express, but really you don't have to be running a warehouse to be able to use this tool. This allows you to do barcoding with your items for receiving, for shipping, for inventory counts, and it can really improve the efficiency and, more importantly, the inventory accuracy of your product, right? So you're not going to be able to ship the wrong product because you're actually scanning it. When you do your inventory counts, it's quick and easy because you just walk through and go beep, beep, beep everywhere. So whether you're running a full-blown warehouse, a distribution center, or whether you're running a retail store or anything in between, this is a tool that you can use to do that. Right? So if you go on AppSource, you'll see, there's a dozen warehouse management or barcoding apps out there. All of them are paid. Why would you pay for that stuff? Wms Express can do everything for the most part that you need for most environments, right? We focus on the three key things, which is, receiving, picking or shipping, and inventory counts. If you need more than that, we have the full warehouse insight that's, got, every bell and whistle you could imagine probably. But just for the basics, Wms Express is probably all you need. All right, in addition to that, and I should mention, well, I'll get back to it. If you don't have barcodes on your items and you want to use something like Wms Express, I'll talk about a solution in a sec that allows you to do that. Now, if you're in manufacturing, or actually if you just want to graphically see any type of schedule that you have within Business Central, so by default or predominantly it's manufacturing scheduling with production orders, but if you want to show jobs, or if you just want to show a schedule of your sales orders, or whatever you want to do, the Graphical Scheduler is a good tool for that. What it allows you to do is you just fire it up, and it shows you all your production orders or jobs or whatever you've got scheduled on the screen, and you can drag and drop those production orders around to move things around. So if you are in manufacturing and you need a way to visualize your schedule on the shop floor and manipulate it visually by dragging and dropping, then that's a great tool for you. Right? Now, document drag and drop, those first two, they're very inventory and production oriented. Doc Extender is something that really everybody could use. And Doc Extender is simply drag and drop. So it allows you to drag, an email attachment or an email or a file or whatever you have over into Business Central, drop it on the attachments box, and it'll upload it into Business Central or it will store it on SharePoint. And that ability to store it on SharePoint is actually really nice, because SharePoint is a great document management solution. Once I drop that document on there, let's say, I drop a drawing onto an item card or something like that, that can trigger off all sorts of workflows for engineering or production or whatever to update their stuff. You can do all sorts of things like that through SharePoint. Or if I drop a PO onto a sales order or something like that, we can trigger all sorts of things. So Doc Extender, simple drag and drop in a Business Central, but that ability to integrate with SharePoint opens up a world of possibilities as well. Or as I mentioned, you can just have it upload and store right within Business Central the way the normal attachments do as well. All right. Now, the other thing that if you've been using Business Central for a while in the cloud, one of the things people struggle with is printing, because it's a very interactive process within Business Central. The requirement is, it launches, the dialog in the browser, and you have to hit print and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's not always, appropriate. I might want to print several different documents at one time, going to different printers or whatever. Like I might want a label going to one printer and a packing slip going to a different printer. Or if I'm in accounting, every time I print this report, I wanted to go to the check printer instead of the normal printer. Well, Print Node Connector does that. It's cloud printing. It allows you to print reports without that interactive requirement. And it's completely free. You do have to sign up with a company called PrintNode, and they have a free plan and a $9 a month paid plan. But once you've done that, you can essentially, print the way you'd expect. I hit a button, and the reports magically go to whatever printers are set up for those reports. Okay. So again, something really everybody should have. And this, incidentally, is what we use if you want to print from a handheld device, which I'll show you in a bit. Like if you're using the Wms Express and you're out there and receiving and want to print labels or something like that, we would go through this connector to actually print those reports on the label printer beside you and receiving or whatever it is. Okay, so this is another one. Really, everybody should have that, or have some sort of cloud printing solution within Business Central. All right, and finally, the last one on here that we'll talk about before we jump into the demo is the Barcode Generator. So this is very handy for generating barcodes within Business Central. And mostly for, this style of barcode, the square barcode up here called a data matrix barcode, and also code 128, some of the things that aren't supported natively in Business Central. And so Barcode Generator ships with a bunch of sample reports and tools, but it's really more of a development tool where, somebody that's building a report for you can go in and add these barcodes to the report. So we ship a bunch of sample ones, like we put barcodes on pick tickets and sales orders and packing slips and things like that. And we have item labels and Wms labels and those types of things. But really what it's intended for is, hey, I need to label my product with barcodes because, hey, I want to be scanning that. Well, you'd go out, you define your label format, and then we're able to print it again from the handhelds using PrintNode or directly from within Business Central. Okay, so that's that tool. So that's basically it for the PowerPoint. Let's jump in and actually see what this stuff looks like. So I'm going to go in here, load up my browser. We'll just actually close this screen. We don't need to see it. And what I usually get asked is, okay, these free apps are great. How do I install them? How do I get them going? So what we do, and I'll show you sort of where you can find the installation instructions later, but I'm going to walk you through actually installing and setting up Wms Express, right? So this is, again, a full barcoding solution for Business Central, and we're going to set it up here in the next 3 or 4 minutes. So the first thing you do is you go in and you go to extensions. You can go directly to AppSource if you're familiar with it. But if I go into extensions within Business Central, it's going to load it up. And then I go into Extension Marketplace. And from here, this is where I can load all the apps into Business Central. So you'll go into your sandbox environment. You'll come in here, and you'll give it a sec till everything loads. And then you'll type in InsideWorks. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring up all those apps that we looked at previously, and we're going to choose the one we want. So you choose Wms Express, you'd say get it now, and it'll install it. Now that process takes 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not going to actually do that. I've already installed it from here, but you simply hit get it now, and you hit OK, and it installs it for you. Okay. Now once it's installed, the next thing that we do is after it's come through and being installed, we go into assisted setup up at the top here, and there will be Wms Express. Actually, you know what? I'm in the wrong sandbox here. Let me just grab the right sandbox. So I'll come in, I'll go into that assisted setup. All right, and it'll show up as Wms Express in assisted setup here. So you'll see setup Wms Express. And when we run that, what it'll do, well, I've run it once before, so it yells at me and says, hey, you sure you want to do it again? I'm going to say yes, just to show you what it looks like. And then we're going to run through this wizard, right? We're just going to come in here and we're going to go through and step through the setup steps. So when I hit next, it says, hey, choose the version of Wms Express you're running. And this version is going to depend on how you set up Business Central. So if you go to the wmsexpress.com site, and again, I'll show you that in a sec, it will list what each of these versions does. So really standard is if you're not running inventory picks or warehouse receipts, all of those sorts of things, or if you don't even know what those things are, then you're going to run standard. If you're running inventory picks and inventory putaways, you're going to run basic. And if you're running the full warehouse documents, warehouse receipts, warehouse picks, warehouse shipments, you're going to choose warehouse. You can change these at any time, but you're going to choose one of these versions that you're going to install. And then you're going to hit next, and you're going to choose your languages that you want to run. You enter some contact information, and then in here you specify, you know, the initial location you want to set up. So your initial warehouse that you want to set up, and you can run this on as many warehouses as you like, or stores, retail stores, whatever you want. This is just the first one that you're going to use for getting it up and running. After that, you can set up as many as you like. So you'll enter that. You'll enter your login name, and that's going to be your Business Central login. And then you're going to enter the web services key from your user card. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that, but it's your user ID. And then when you go into the, you know what, I am going to go through it real quick just to show you. You come in here, and for the time being, what you're going to do is you're going to grab this web services key. You're just going to click on that. You're going to hit Control-C, and you're going to then paste that into this, and that's going to generate a barcode you can scan to log in. And once you've done that, you hit next, and then it says, hey, if you keep going, it's going to load all the apps, and it's going to take a few minutes. We're not going to do that, but as soon as I hit next, that's it. That's the setup. So you install it from AppSource, takes a couple minutes. You run through the assisted setup, that takes a couple minutes, and you're done. And after the assisted setup, what happens is it generates this report. As soon as I'm finished running through the assisted setup, it generates a report with a few different barcodes on here. This first barcode is one that allows me to install the application on a device. So if you want to test it on a phone or something like that, you can load up your phone, scan this barcode, load the app, everything else. The next one is the configuration barcode that allows me to come in and connect the device to Business Central. And the last one is the barcode I scan to actually log into my system. Okay, so it just generates this report, and then you save this guy. Then what you're going to do is you're going to grab your device. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch over here to this. So this is, hopefully you can see that. This is my my webcam here, and this is a little device I have in my hand. So that's what we call a Memoir K device, and these guys are less than $600, and they're a great little scanner. And if you purchase the hardware through us, they come preloaded. It shows up exactly like that. And what you see here on the right-hand side, this is the screen from my device. So if I touch the screen, you can see that, you know, little circle in the middle there. That's my thumb touching the screen. But this is the type of device you can get, or you can get a full-blown device, you know, that's, you know, a big rugged device or whatever, or you can just run it on your cell phone for testing using the camera. But what I'm going to do is, you know, I've ordered this device. It's shown up, and it comes preloaded with the software. So it's got this warehouse icon here. I tap that, it opens it up. Now it says Warehouse Insight, but this is the same for Warehouse Insight or Wms Express. And now it says, hey, you need to set this up. How do you want to do it? And what I want to do is I want to scan that barcode. So if you recall that report I just showed you in the browser, this is it here. So this is the one that was printed out, and I'm going to scan these barcodes. So the first thing I do is I scan that configuration barcode, and it says, okay, yep, that's good. And then I scan my login barcode at the bottom there, and it brings it up. And then we wait about 10 seconds or so here as it connects up to Business Central. loads up everything, and gets me in. So there we go. So that's it. That entire process I just ran through in whatever it was, 3 minutes, is the entire process for getting that set up. And now we're able to start scanning anything we like inside Business Central directly. So because I set it up with the warehouse or the Wms Express standard, I've got my inventory count, I've got receiving against purchase orders, and I've got shipping against sales orders. And now if I want to start receiving, I just hit the receive icon here, and it loads it up. And the first time you do it after you install this thing and everything else, it takes a second. After that, it's pretty much instant. And there's all the POs right out of Business Central that were there that I can now start receiving against. And this guy's great because it's got a little arrow keys here that I can arrow up and down. I don't even have to touch the screen. But I'm going to choose one of these purchase orders, and at this point I can just start scanning barcodes and receiving. Right? So simple as that. I come in, I choose the PO I want to use, and I start scanning the barcodes. Now, you're saying, well, I don't have, the vendor doesn't barcode things for me. Well, if they don't, they should. But the barcodes that come in on the products, if the vendors do barcode it, can be UPC codes, can be a custom barcode. You can generate your own barcodes. It doesn't really matter. If you want to print your own barcodes, I just hit the menu here, and I can hit print, and that's going to print whatever labels I have set up for, this purchase order, that line on the purchase order, or whatever it is. So I can actually go in and print, whatever I like from the handheld device, right? And stick the labels on the product myself. But assuming, everything's barcoded or I've generated my own labels, I can just start scanning. The other option is I could just choose one of these items, hit enter or hit the menu and change quantity, and I can just manually enter the quantity without scanning anything. So you don't technically need to scan anything if you don't want. Now, if you are scanning, which again is the ideal situation, we're just going to scan whatever barcode is there. And just for fun, I'm going to show you this. This is a report that's printed out of our barcode generator. It's called the simple barcode list. And you can basically define whatever barcodes you want and any barcode formats you want. Here's another version with some code 128 barcodes. But you can define those barcodes, print them out for testing and for samples. And that's what I'm going to do, right? So let's assume this was a box that I'm going to receive. I want to scan this 1900S. I don't know what it is in front of me. There's a box in front of me. I'm going to scan it. Oops. And of course, when I picked it up, I touched the home button. But I'm going to scan that 1900S thing here. I don't know what I'm scanning. I don't have that line selected. But there is a barcode on my sheet that's 1900S. And I'm going to go in and scan that barcode, and it's going to find it on the purchase order, optionally show me a picture of that barcode or that item, and now allow me to enter the quantity for that that item that I'm receiving. And then I would just say, how many I've received, and we're done. And that's it, right? It took me a few minutes to install Wms Express to get the system up and running, and we're good to go. And I'm now receiving using barcodes. And it really is as simple as that. And the same thing goes for shipping and everything else in the system, right? Inventory counts, again, become very easy because I can go in. The standard count just uses the physical inventory journal within Business Central. So these are all the batches that I've defined. And I can just say, yeah, team one, you go out and count. I'm going to load up that team one batch, and it lists all the items. I've already counted these guys because they've all got quantities there. But I can go in and I can provide a list of items for people to count, right? I can calculate inventory or calculate cycle count, and it'll give me a list of items to count, or I can just walk out into the warehouse and start scanning barcodes, right? So I can walk up to this thing and I can scan that barcode. Again, it optionally shows me the picture. You can turn that on or off if you like, and I enter the quantity I found of that particular guy. Sorry, I should be showing my screen here, and that's it. And that's how I do my inventory count. Scan the barcode, enter the quantity, and you're good to go, right? So that's as simple as it gets when you're talking about doing barcoding with Business Central, especially if you have these types of devices. Now, if you do want to use a camera, if you want to test it on your cell phone or anything like that, it'll pop up. It'll know if you're on a phone, and it'll ask you if you want to use the camera. So I'll just show you really quickly what that looks like. The default config password is 1234 in case you want to get into this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into barcoding here, and there's a button there where you can see it on the right-hand screen for using the camera. I'm going to turn that on, And there's a bunch of barcode formats. You can specify, you know, what you want to read. But as soon as I do that, and we're going to close this, save the configuration, it's going to reload it. All these applications are being reloaded right from Business Central. That's where all the logic is. And you'll notice we've got this little icon at the top of the screen here. And I can actually move that guy around. So I can drag him to where my thumb normally sits. And now when I want to scan a barcode, if I don't have a scanner like this one with a scan button, I can just hit that and it's going to launch the camera, and then I can scan the barcode through the camera, right? So that's basically how that works. All right, so that's Wms Express, right? Pretty simple, pretty easy to get up and running. And again, you've got full barcode management for Business Central in a few minutes. Now, what I want to do though now is talk a little bit about some of the other guys. So the next one to look at is going to be the graphical scheduler. So again, this is more if you're in manufacturing, you know, for scheduling your production orders. But it can be used for pretty much any data within Business Central. So I can create a graph here, like a chart here that has sales orders or pick tickets or to-do lists or whatever I want. But the default configuration comes up and it's really for production orders. Oh, and we can also, you can throw jobs on here as well. And you can have multiple pieces of information on this chart as well if you like. So it's not just a little toy chart that you throw out and that's all you get. You can actually extend this to do almost anything you want. I can plot production orders and purchase orders on the same chart if I like, to see when my material is coming in, or production orders and jobs, or whatever you want to do. At any rate, the one I've got here, it's just loading up a few production orders, and of course I can scroll down, I can see, you know, where they're needed and all that kind of stuff. And then if I, you know, tap on one of these, click on one of these, it highlights all the operations and shows me the lines between them. And so I can see exactly what the relationships are. You notice we have different colors here as well. These guys in yellow are firm planned orders. So I can plot firm planned orders, or planned, or simulated, or released. I can filter all that down. So I can have a planning mode where I show all my planned, firm planned, released orders to see what's going on. And I can have an execution mode that just shows me my released orders, right? And then the nice thing about this is, you know, I can grab any, well, let's do this one. I can grab any one of these guys and say, you know what, we can't do this starting here. I'm actually going to move that over, drop it here. And what it's going to do is it's going to save that. Of course, there's a setting that turned on that I have to commit it. But what it'll do is it'll save that and it'll reschedule the rest of the operations around that guy I just dropped. So you got that full drag and drop scheduling as well. Now, the way you set this up, all of the things that you see there, the colors, the tool tips, all of that kind of stuff is set up through what we call a view. Now, some of this can get, you know, fairly complicated if you really dig into it, but it's really quite easy to create your own views and all that kind of stuff. And you can come in and just put whatever you want on that chart, plot it, make it your own, and you're good to go. So again, if you're doing production scheduling, you know, this is a great little tool, and it's as easy to install as what I showed you with Wms Express, actually easier. You just, again, install it from AppSource, you run the assisted setup, and you can now do production scheduling directly inside Business Central. Now, let's talk very briefly. We're going to jump into sales orders here, just for fun. I'll just grab one of these sales orders that happens to be here, and I'm going to show you a couple of other things that we can do. So the first thing we'll talk about is, you know, the doc extender stuff. So I've got a sales order here. Customer emails me a PO or something along those lines. Boy, Business Central is a little slow here. I'm just going to find a different sales order real quick. Okay, we'll use this one. So customer emails me POs, or I've got drawings I need to attach to this, or whatever it happens to be. I can go to attachments, and the way you do it in standard Business Central is I open this up and I select file, and I grab one file at a time. But if you've got Doc Extender installed, you got this little guy right here. And what that allows me to do, let's just go in. I'm just going to open up a folder here. But again, you can drag and drop from email or whatever you like. And I've got, you know, these 4 documents I want to attach. So I can just grab those, drag and drop them, and bang, it's attached. I'm going to say no to open it. But there's all my, well, Business Central didn't refresh, but anyway, there's my documents, and I'm good to go. Simple as that, right? So that's all there is to it. Now I can also set this up to go out to SharePoint as well if I like, right? And again, you can drag and drop as many of these things as you like. I didn't like that OXPS thing. That's probably a Microsoft Edge situation. But you can come in and drag and drop whatever documents you want into Business Central and store it on SharePoint. So the way you set that up is quite simple. You go into Doc Extender Setup, right? There's no assisted setup for it or anything like that. You go to Doc Extender Setup. You decide, hey, I want to store it in Business Central, or I want to store it on SharePoint. You've got some options on, you know, how it renames files. If it dropped the same file on more than once, what do you want it to do? And whether you want it to confirm every time you drop a file, like it did for me. It said, hey, you've dropped it. Do you want to open it up? Or you just want it silent. This Warehouse Insight integration is neat. If you're using the full Warehouse Insight product, not just WMS Express, you can actually take photos from the handheld device at receiving or shipping or whatever, and that'll automatically upload and attach into Business Central using Doc Extender. Now, anyway, we'll ignore that for now, but the SharePoint stuff, again, I can set up my SharePoint folder and all those sorts of things, and when I drag and drop, it dumps it into SharePoint and can kick off any operations I want within SharePoint. So, you know, it's a minor thing in some ways, right? Oh, yeah, well, I get to drag and drop, big deal. I can still, you know, just click on this and add files. But this makes life a lot easier, especially since you can drag and drop out of email and those types of things. And we have that ability to store in SharePoint and link those documents right back into Business Central. Okay. All right, so that's Doc Extender. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention while I'm on this sales order is that whole printing capability, right? So if I come in here and I want to print the order confirmation, for whatever reason, you more likely want to email it or something like that. But if I want to print an invoice, I want to print a pick ticket or something along those lines, I'm going to hit this, and what it's going to do is it's going to come up, and you notice it says, hey, the default printer for this is Showroom 1. And if I hit print, it's just going to go to that printer. And what's interesting about this is, you know, I could have, when I hit that print button, I could have 3 or 4 different reports. Maybe I'm printing, you know, the sales confirmation, but it's also going to print the pick ticket at the same time, and maybe a shipping label or whatever you have to do. Each one of those reports can be linked to a different printer, and that will just automatically print that out at those printers. So if I hit print, I get no other prompts from the web browser or anything like that. It's just going to magically go to that printer there. Now, that doesn't seem like much here, but again, when you've got multiple reports, or you know, you don't want that user interaction every single time you want to print something, this is really a must-have. And the way that's set up is dirt simple as well. So if you go into the print node setup, let's go here. What you do is you sign up with that company I mentioned called PrintNode. Again, they have free plans and paid plans. They will get you, you know, you're through their whole setup and everything, and you install something locally, and then they give you an API key, right? Just basically like an account number, but an API key you paste in there. Once you've done that, that's it. That's the only setup you need to do. And at that point, you can start assigning your printers. So this printer selections is built into Business Central. And what it allows you to do is to say, hey, every time I print the sales confirmation report, I want to print it to that printer. And every time I print an invoice, it's going to go to accounting. And every time I print a pick list, it's going to go to shipping, right? Those types of things. And for this particular user, if they print the count sheets report, it's going to go to the warehouse printer, and so on and so forth. So you can set all of these things up. You can set up default printers for individual people, all sorts of stuff you can do there. And then it's just magic, right? From the handheld, if I print a count sheet or something like that, it'll automatically magically print to this printer. And then you can do a little bit more as well. So for example, on this pick ticket, I can come in and I can say, you know what, I want to override the base Business Central behavior, and I want to print, you know, landscape, and I want to choose a custom paper size, or I want to set a specific number of copies to print every time I print this particular report. So we can set all of that stuff up as well, so that when you print, it prints 5 copies of that label or report or document or whatever we want, with a very specific paper size, all of those sorts of things. Right? So it gives you a lot more control and a lot more seamless use of the system versus having to hit print, and then as soon as you hit print in Business Central, it pops up the Chrome or Edge print dialog, and then you choose your printer and hit print again. I come in here, I hit print, it magically goes to the printer that it's supposed to go to, and it's as simple as that. All right, So that's sort of a quick overview of those, free applications, or a few of the free applications that are available from us on Business Central. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump back in here and cover off the last little bit and see if there's any questions that need answering. But if you need any additional information about these or any of the other solutions that we have to offer, contact Innovia. Go to the website, contact us, or contact your Innovia rep would actually be even better. Or if you have questions about some of these things, you can also come directly to InsightWorks, and that's our main website. If you want to see on-demand webinars, go to Innovia's website. They've got a ton of on-demand webinars for various products and Business Central capabilities, all sorts of good stuff. You can also come to us, and we have specific on-demand videos of our products, our solutions, and those sorts of things. And the one last thing I'll mention here, which is quite important, is the knowledge base. So the knowledge base is really where we store all the documentation for all the products. So if you do install, for example, the Graphical Schedule or Wms Express or any of those tools, you can come in here and it's got, all the details around it, right? So for example, Graphical Scheduler, it's got the configuration, the install information, and it's got a ton of videos on how to set it up and use it and things like that. So the knowledge base is a great resource for coming in and getting everything, set up and all that if you're doing that install of those free products yourself, or even the full-blown products as well. All right, so that's really all I wanted to cover off today. And we're right at about the half-hour mark, which is awesome. Angie, any questions that have come through at all?
Thank you, Mark. No questions have come through, but if anyone has any, please do put them in the questions box and we can get them addressed for you.
Excellent. And again, feel free to contact your Innovia rep. They'll be happy to help you out, or come to the website and set that up. Okay.
All right. Well, nothing is coming through yet. So I just want to thank everyone for being on our webinar today. Thank you, Mark, for presenting.
You're welcome, and hope everybody got something out of it, and hopefully we'll be talking again soon.
All right, and also to let you know, we do have more webinars coming up. Check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's innovia.com/events. And Innovia will be participating in a virtual conference with Dynamics Con that is coming up next week, March 16th through the 18th. And Dynamics Con is a free conference for Business Central users designed to give you new skills regardless of your skill level. So for more details on this conference and to register, visit our conference page at innovia.com/conferences. And we also have a podcast. If you have not heard of it already, it's called the Innovia Conversation. And we just want to encourage you to listen to the selection that our hosts, Steve Waltz and Jeff Bergolski, have provided to us. And you can find out about all the different podcast platforms to listen to on our podcast page, and that's innovia.com/podcast. So check out the selection and subscribe so you can get notified when those new episodes air. And we have started a new round of training workshops for you and your team members to attend. Visit our training workshop page at innovia.com/workshops for more information and to register for the training workshop that fits your role. All right, once again, we thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mark, for presenting, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on another Innovia webinar. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.